I'm sure you remember the devastating attacks on the World Trade Center, New York City. Remember after that, every time you went to an airport, you saw warnings, non-stop warnings to be alert for possible terrorist attacks. Whether the level of alert was yellow or orange or red, people were asked to be aware, to be alert, to be awake. Today's second reading and the third reading want us to move to the red alert. Paul says, it is time to wake up from sleep. The images of what happens to those who are unprepared sound frightening, don't they? A thief in the night breaks into one's house. One man in the field is taken, the other left. One woman grinding at the mill is taken, one is left. So be prepared. Jesus warns, stay awake. And so as we enter into the Advent season again, we break out from our normal routine and move to a heightened alert to perceive more intensely the ways in which Emmanuel, God with us, is moving us toward a vision of peace and unity that Isaiah so beautifully and eloquently described in the first reading. The prophet Isaiah dreams of how all people stream toward the city of peace. All dwell in unity. Swords are beaten into plowshares, spears into pruning hooks. Beautiful, beautiful, symbolic language. On the grounds of the United Nations in New York City, there is a bronze replica of these words, about 40 feet long, of the prophet's dream, plowshares and spears. Wonderful, wonderful, very impressive, and yet we continue to create more weapons of catastrophic, diabolic, massive destruction. Advent, Emmanuel, be present to the presence of God in your life. In the second reading, Paul gives concrete advice about how we are to do this, how we are to put on this intense preparation for the coming fullness of peaceable kingdom. Paul exhorts all Christians, you and me, to throw off the works of darkness, put on the armor of light. What does he mean? He recognizes that the peace of which Isaiah dreamed and which the coming of Christ brought about in a new way does not come easily, does not come without a struggle. It takes more than just wishing. It takes long to become a reality. Paul imagines Christians going into battle, metaphorically speaking. To prepare for the struggle, Paul would have us polish up our body armor of virtues. He speaks of the kind of training one must undergo to be able to bear light. He warns about excesses, indulgences that make one satiated and sluggish. Instead of traditional practices of prayer and fasting and sacrifice, we snuff out the light of our lives. Paul also warns against rivalry, jealousies, avarice. By putting on Christ, we clothe ourselves with armaments of forgiveness and love and community building. The gospel today impresses upon us the urgency of engaging in the struggles for peace, because it doesn't come easily. The image of the unprepared ones whose homes are broken into or are left behind are not meant to frighten us, but they remind us, my brothers and sisters, they remind us that there will be an end to time when all our preparations, all our attempts to be alert, and all our efforts to disarm our hearts and wage peace will, in a critical moment, reach fruition. And we will all be ready. The following story manifests so beautifully the lesson of the first Sunday of Advent. The story is entitled, "Hey God, what is the world like?" And so God and man are walking down the road. The man asks God, "Hey God, what is the world like?" And God replies, "I cannot talk when I am thirsty. If you could get me a drink of cool water, we could discuss what the world is like. Now there is a village over there. Go and please get me a drink of cool water." And so the man goes into the village and knocks at the door of the first house he meets. And a very beautiful and comely young woman opens the door. The man's jaw drops, but he manages to say, "I need a glass of cool water." She says, "Of course, but it is midday. Would you care for some food?" And he says, "I am indeed hungry, and your offer of food is of great charity and kindness." And so he goes in to the house and closes the door behind him. 30 years later, the man who wanted to know what the world was like and the woman who offered him food have married and have 5 children. He is a respected merchant in the little village, and she is an honored member of the community. But one day a terrible storm comes in off the ocean and threatens their lives. And the merchant cries out, "Oh God, help us." And a voice from the midst of the storm says, "Where is my glass of water?" What is the world like? The answer of the story is in that place of forgetfulness. Or in the metaphor of Matthew's text, it is a place where we fall asleep. A week ago, I and an elderly doctor friend of mine and his wife were at dinner. And at the end of the meal, I touched the waiter's arm, whom I know very, very well. And I said, "My friend, you forgot my mushroom soup. And you forgot our bruschetta. And you forgot the doctor's broccoli. Don't you think that we should negotiate our tip? He humbly suggested, oh, just drop the tip, as he put his head between his knees. And I said, no, we will tip you. But next time, pay attention. Stay awake. Be alert. I met the mail person the day before Thanksgiving. I met the mail person at the mailbox just outside of my house on the sidewalk. Happy Thanksgiving, I said to her as she stuffed the box with mail. And she returned, happy Thanksgiving to you. And we had a little pleasant Thanksgiving conversation. She closes the metal box and jumps into her little postal wagon. And I asked, hey, did you take the outgoing mail? And she says, oh, I forgot. Stay awake. Pay attention. Be alert. Our story of God and his glass of water reminds us that we do not stay attentive to the spiritual dimension of life, eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, working in the field and grinding at the mill, and the busyness of life take all our time, and more importantly, take all our mind. First Sunday of Advent, wake up, be alert, stay awake.